Sorry I didn't upload last week. A lot of shit went down, and I'm actually telling a story time coming up here soon about one of the situations. But anyway, today I have a very different story time to tell you guys. So to give a little background information about the story, this one's gonna be a very crazy one, by the way, and it's also essentially like two stories in one. But I figured they'd just be told best together because they both took place in the span of like 4 hours from each other. So yeah, let's get into today's story time. And this one takes place back during my junior year, back during my 11th grade football season. And I don't know how many other people's schools do this, but my school would always have our rival team game at the end of the season, and at some point during the week we would have a big ass like bonfire to hype up the school and like the football team to beat our rival team. And this story essentially takes place during this day in question. So uh, I woke up. It was a pretty normal day. I don't remember the specific day of the week that the bonfire was on. I just know it was before Friday. So I woke up, got ready, went to school, went through my entire school day, and then kind of just went downstairs to wait for football practice because we still had to go to practice before the bonfire. But we got out like half an hour early, I believe, is what the coaches said we would be getting out for the bonfire, just so we could all go get ready and not be sweating our asses off. So I'd waited for practice to start and essentially just went through the entire practice. Our practices during the in season would normally be like 4 to 6, but because of the fact we got out a little early, we got out at like 5:30 something or something like that. And I essentially just went downstairs to the locker room and like got all my pads and stuff off, and then I just went over to my one friend who we'll just call Evan and waited for him to finish getting ready so we could walk over to the bonfire together. So Evan finished getting all of his pads off and back into like normal fucking clothing, and we proceeded to walk over to the bonfire. And the location was only like 5 minutes away, so we didn't have to walk very far. And I think we had gotten there and the bonfire hadn't even started yet. I think we still had like a good 10 minutes before it even started. So eventually the bonfire did start, and I would say for like the next hour and a half, just I think the cheerleaders were doing like activities, and then the senior football players were all speaking. And this bonfire didn't exactly hype me up. I don't know how many people it hyped up, but it was a nice little event to attend. And I would say after like that hour and a half of all of that happening, my one friend who goes to the rival school texts me, and we'll just call this dude Hayden. He texts me and goes, "What are you doing right now?" I'm like, "I'm over at the bonfire, like, for my school. What are you doing?" He goes, "I'm over at the bonfire for my school." I go, "Oh, they planned them for the same day?" And I was like, sitting there thinking, I was like, I'm not exactly too sure why I'm shocked by this, but anyway, we just proceeded to keep texting each other, and eventually he sends me the message. He's like, "Do you want me to come pick you up and bring you over to the bonfire?" And I was like, "Would that really be a good idea?" And he's like, "Yeah, you should wear your jersey too." And for a minute, I'm sitting there contemplating going over there wearing my football jersey, but I eventually texted him back. I was like, "You know what? I'll go over, but I'm taking my fucking jersey off because I'm not trying to get jumped by half the other school's football team." And Hayden basically texted me back. He's like, "Bet, I'll be over to come pick you up in a few minutes." And I was like, "Okay, I'll see you then." And I would say about like 15 minutes went by before Hayden eventually pulls up in his big ass fucking truck. And I take my jersey off. I go over to the passenger seat of his truck and I get in, and then we proceed to start driving over to the other bonfire. And I would say like a minute to maybe 2 minutes into this drive over to the other school, Hayden lays it on me that he's been drinking and is drinking and driving with me in the car. And this is your warning right now to not do that. It's not a very smart decision, and maybe tell your friends before you start driving with them that you've been drinking. But I didn't have my seatbelt on before, but I did after the fact that he told me. And I essentially asked him, I was like, "Hayden, how much have you drank?" And he's like, "I've taken like a couple shots of vodka probably." I was like, okay, well, please don't crash with me in the car. I would prefer to make it home tonight. And he's like, okay, I won't. And we did eventually make it over to the bonfire, but by the time we had gotten there, like, all the activities and shit had ended, like, their speeches from their seniors had ended, and it was just, like, groups of people standing around the different areas near the bonfire, which I was definitely down for. So we pulled into a parking spot and both got out of the truck, and from like the little fence in front of where all the cars were parked at, that's where the fire was at, was on the other side of this fence. A lot of the football players like saw me getting out of the truck, and I was either getting nice looks from the people that liked me or dirty looks from the people that like just knew I played for my school's team, and I just thought it was fucking hilarious. And eventually me and Hayden just walk over to a group of people he's friends with, and we all just start talking, having a good time. And Hayden lets the ball drop on this group of people. I think it was like three other people that he knew that he had been drinking a little bit, that he had taken some shots, and they looked at me and they're like, well, why the fuck are you letting him drive? And I'm like, I don't have a fucking license. Like, I was 16, I only had my permit. I probably could have gotten my license, but some things happened, which I'll tell that story another day. But yeah, I was 16, only had my permit at the time. I think I had just gotten it like 2 months beforehand at this point. So I was like, yeah, no, I can't legally drive. And we all just continue to keep talking, and we gradually just start moving towards Hayden's truck during our conversation. And when we get there, I ask Hayden if I can sit in the truck bed, and he didn't have a problem with that. So I'm just sitting there in the bed of the truck. We're all talking. I'm the only one in the bed of the truck, keep in mind, and I start looking at Hayden, and it looks like he's planning some devious shit. Like, the alcohol had definitely had time to settle at this point, and you could tell. And after like five or 10 more minutes of us talking, Hayden rushes to the fucking driver's seat, gets in, and I can't like tell what he's doing. I thought maybe he was getting in the truck to like get something out, and he turns this bitch on and just starts driving with me in it, just whipping it down the streets by the school. And I'm sitting there, I'm holding on to the inside of the bed for dear fucking life, because I wasn't expecting him to do any of this shit. And eventually, after like three or so minutes of him doing this, we pull back up and pull back into the parking spot. And he gets out of the fucking driver's seat, and I hop out of the bed of the truck, and we just start having a conversation about what he just did, and he apologized to me and said he wouldn't do it again. So I was pretty fine at that. But at this point, the bonfire was starting to come to a bit of a close, and we're still talking to Hayden's little group of friends, and they're looking at me and they're like, yeah, he is in no need to be driving. You should drive his truck back to your house to like give him a little more time to sober up. And I'm like, the cops in your guys' town don't fucking like me, which that's a story I'll be telling very soon. But I was like, yeah, they don't like me. If I get pulled over, I'm fucked with only a permit. Like, the whole situation was just becoming more and more fucked by the second. But I eventually took one for the team. Hayden gave me his keys. He got in the passenger seat. I got in the driver's seat. And I'd never driven a truck like this before. I don't remember like what make or model it was. I would have to ask him, but he essentially had to coach me while, being either a little tipsy or drunk or whatever he was. I don't know what his alcohol limit is, but he had to coach me while after drinking, and I'm going the speed limits. I'm doing a pretty good job, I would say, but we passed so many fucking cops on the way back to my house. So when I tell you I was so fucking worried, I was in shambles while driving home. And eventually we did get back to my house, and we kind of just pulled up outside and parked next to like my yard for a little bit. And after like a little while, my mom like walks outside to see what or whose big ass fucking truck is just parked outside of the trailer. And she walks up to the window, I roll it down, she looks at me and goes, "Why the fuck are you driving this big ass truck?" And I just like explained the situation to her, and she starts understanding a little more. My mom's not really the type to like really give a fuck about situations like this. Like, she'll be mad at me for drinking and driving like he was doing. She was fine if I was designated driving. She just didn't like that I didn't have my license. But after explaining the situation to her, we waited like 20 more minutes to see if Hayden would like maybe sober up a little more. And I truly don't know if he did or not, but after that 20 minutes he did leave in his truck, and I told him to be safe, let me know when he got home, and he went on his way. I went back inside with my mom, and I'm not gonna lie, I was a little worried. I went and I sat down in my room for a little bit, like scrolling through TikTok, kind of just waiting for Hayden's message. And like before, I think even 10 minutes had gone by from him leaving the house, all we hear is a loud ass fucking explosion like sound. And my mom goes, Mr. Creatine, text Hayden real quick and make sure that wasn't him like crashing into anything. I'm like, that didn't really sound like a truck crashing into anything, but yeah, I'll text him real quick to like make sure. And I texted him and he's like, no, I'm home right now. I was like, well, you didn't let me know you were home, first of all, but thanks for letting me know that you didn't like just crash outside. And I walked out to the kitchen and I was like, Mom, yeah, it was not Hayden. And we both proceeded to just walk outside of the trailer, and all we see is like bright like yellow orange like a fire, just a big ass bright fire like lighting up the fucking night sky. And me and my mom like start walking a little closer to the area. Like there's a bunch of people just outside of their trailers like looking at what's going on, and from where our trailer's positioned, we couldn't really like see entirely what was happening. And so we're walking like a little more up the street, and yeah, there's probably like 15 to 20 of us just standing at the end of the street, and all we see is this big ass like fire down one of like the rows of the trailer park. And I'm just standing there. My friend Dimitri, like my next door neighbor, had come outside and he's standing with me, and all the adults are like trying to figure out like what the fuck is going on. And because of the fact that the explosion and fire wasn't like very close to my trailer, like there was a good enough distance between it. Me and my mom didn't like drive off or like go to evacuate. Most people didn't have to. I think only like the people who were immediate neighbors or close to like maybe 3 to 4 trailers away from that got affected by it. And me and my mom kind of just went back inside the trailer, which I don't think I would have done that again. I think I might have left like the whole situation just in case, but yeah, we both went back inside. I sat back in my room just processing the whole evening in general, and I start getting like a lot of calls and messages like, did your trailer explode? Like, are you dead? Are you on fire right now? Like, are you okay? Which I was very happy to see that people like actually gave a shit. But no, my trailer did not explode. No, I wasn't on fire, and no, I wasn't dead. And I had to send those messages a lot that night to explain to people, but eventually my mom ended up coming back over to my room, like knocking on the wall because I didn't have a fucking door. And she explains to me like it was my friend's dad from the video I smoked with my friend's dad behind a shed. Essentially there was an electrical fire, and they had a lot of like oxygen tanks in the house because his wife had like a whole situation where she was having trouble breathing, so she had a lot of oxygen tanks. And I guess some sort of electrical fire happened, and thankfully he got like everybody out of the house before the electrical fire lit up the oxygen tanks, causing them to explode. So yeah, thankfully they all did get out of that house, and they were able to get a trailer, I think very shortly after, just like a couple trailers down from where theirs originally blew up at, which I found kind of crazy. But yeah, I would say that's the end of today's story time. It was a really crazy one in my opinion, and if you like today's story time, drop a like, comment, subscribe. It would be really awesome. And I will be face revealing very soon, actually, and I'll be dropping my first name with my face reveal. And yeah, so just stay tuned for that, and just know that very big things are coming up here soon. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.